Hey, Rising Groves, welcome to another round, another session. Today, we're going to continue kind of our series through the national parks and my road trip, my sabbatical this summer, and kind of bring in some of the stories and just kind of the highlights into what I hope will relate to us spiritually. And so today, we're actually going to follow up a little bit on what Brandon talked about on Sunday morning when it comes to serving. There's a couple of national parks that I kind of had some stories that I think will relate and hopefully you'll enjoy. But we're going to be going from the desert, which is what we've been in for the last few weeks, to the ocean. So welcome to the Pacific Ocean. We are going to Channel Islands National Park. If you've never heard of that one, it's a chain of islands off the coast of Southern California, kind of off the coast of Ventura and Santa Barbara. Actually, if you were a kid and you ever read the book Island of the Blue Dolphins, that's kind of where this book was set. So it's kind of an unusual national park because you can't just drive up to it. You have to actually get a boat ride over there, make a reservation in advance to reserve your spot on the boat in order to get to the island, which kind of makes it special because when you get there, it's pretty isolated. It's pretty lonely. There's not crowds at all. I mean, whoever's on the boat with you is who's at the park. So I think, there was 2 boatloads that were there by the time we got there. So maybe there was like a couple hundred people there total. And so you get to go kind of explore kind of this island and see the coast. And some people were doing, kind of boarding around and kind of seeing on little boats around into the sea caves and stuff like that, and you could hear the sea lions, and you could see all these animals and different things that are on this island. So it's a very beautiful place. You get to go to this hike that overlooks the cliffs, just spectacular. But the story I want to share has to do actually with the boat ride over. And so Capito was with me at this point, and we got to the boat early, like everybody else with the reservation. So we get on this boat and we have to cross the channel. So we're going over the Pacific Ocean to this island. And along the way, they would kind of like, hey, we see some wildlife. Hey, let's stop the boat so you guys can see. And we'd see like a whale, coming up out of the water. And at one point, they kind of took a detour because they noticed what you would see is you see a whole bunch of seagulls. So if you're 30 miles off the coast and you see a bunch of seagulls flying around together, then you know that there's something happening there because they're feeding, and they need, in order for them to feed, there has to be fish. And so the fish coming up to the top of the water so the seagulls can eat them is a sign that something is going on under the water. So what was going on was that what happens is you have dolphins, lots and lots and lots of dolphins, and whales off the coast of California. There can be humpback whales, there can be gray whales, blue whales, and they actually work together. It's kind of this weird phenomenon, I guess, if you will, where the whales and the dolphins work together. The whales are kind of like on the outside of the perimeter, and then the dolphins are in the middle. And what they do is they kind of go under these large schools of fish. And because the whales are kind of on the perimeter and the dolphins come up from below, it pushes all the fish up to the surface. And what happens is it's a massive feeding frenzy between the whales and the fish and the seagulls. And so we were cruising along on our boat ride, over the waves, and they kind of like did a little detour, and we ended up like right in the middle of this. And it was like, what in the world is happening? Because there's hundreds of dolphins like coming out of the water. We could see every once in a while a whale coming up on the outside, and all these seagulls flying all over the place. And so what we got to witness is one of these feeding frenzies. And it kind of made me realize is that the only way that they can do this is if they work together. So they have to, and the dolphins and the whales, I don't know, they can't really communicate. I don't know if they're, and they're like talking to each other, or they just kind of know this is what we need to do. But together, they work together in order to bring these fish up to the top so that they can all eat. And so to me, it was kind of a symbol, and hopefully we'll be able to show you a little bit of the video, but kind of a symbol of what church is supposed to be like. Not in a feeding frenzy in that sort of sense, I guess, but this idea that we have to work together. We got to have some teamwork. If we're going to succeed in this thing, we all have to kind of work together towards the good of everybody, not for the good of the individual dolphin or the individual whale or the individual seagull, but all kind of working together for the good of the whole community, the whole pod of dolphins, all the whales. And so it's kind of this idea that that's what church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be this place where we're all working together towards a common goal, so for the benefit of every single person who's part of the community. When we do our Mexico mission trips, which we're going to be doing actually in a few weeks, next month with the staff as kind of a bonding experience, but we also been doing it for years with the high school students. We're actually considering this summer, we've done it before, but considering doing kind of an adult and family version of this trip next summer. So if you're interested, let me know. But when we go on this trip for decades now, one of the key verses that we have everybody memorize is Philippians 2:3-4. where it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, out of just what's in your best interest because you think you're so great and everybody should be serving you. It's like, no, 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 no. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility, humble yourself. Think of others ahead of yourself. It says, each of you should look out to the interests of others, not just your own interest. And so it's this kind of idea that when you come to church, you come to this body, when it comes to even Jesus with us and God with us, it's not just what's in it for me, it's how can I serve other people? How can I look to the interests of other people? And if you have a church that's doing that, you have a church that is alive and vibrant and on fire. And if you have a church that doesn't do that, they have a church that's dying and wilting. Because they're just kind of, everybody's in it for themselves, and everybody's kind of like, what's in it for me? And I don't really care about everybody else here. As long as I get what I need, as long as I'm being fed, I don't care about everybody else. But if you have a community where everybody's pitching in, and that's kind of the idea we're trying to get to at Rising Church, is that everybody serves, everybody volunteers, everybody is coming not just for their own interest, but also for the interests of the kids or the students or the young adults or other adults. And so how can I come to this community and how can I play my part for the betterment of the entire community? Another example, I think, is another national park. I'm going to throw this one in on a little extra. I had a lot of wildlife experiences on this trip, and probably one of the more unusual ones was when you're along the Pacific coast and you get up to kind of the northern coast, when you get to Northern California and Oregon and Washington and even up into British Columbia, you see these things called banana slugs. And I don't know if you know what a banana slug is, but it's pretty nasty, okay? It's a slug, so it's like a snail, only without the shell, and it's long. It's kind of like, looks like a little bit like a leech, only gigantic. They can be 10 inches long. These things can live up to 7 years. And you find them along the coast because where the giant redwood trees are, the coastal redwoods, which are the tallest trees on the planet, you have the sequoias, which are the largest, and you have in the redwoods is another kind of branch off the same family tree, if you will, that is the tallest. And so these coastal redwoods, they thrive in this moist environment, and the banana slugs do too. And kind of what the scientists have discovered is that there's a symbiotic relationship between the banana slugs and the giant redwoods or the coastal redwoods, because the banana slugs, they literally eat everything. They eat everything, and so they just constantly, they eat everything. And they kind of like spit it all, or they poop it all out, and it kind of fertilizes the ground and makes it rich. They kind of clean up the undergrowth underneath the giant redwood trees, and so that's what they do. And they kind of secrete all this nasty fluid, if you will, that actually makes them poisonous to a lot of animals. Raccoons have been known to actually roll the banana slugs in the dirt so that they kind of get like a corn dog, because if they just eat them straight, then they kind of have this anesthetic and it kind of numbs their mouth, and they don't like that. So they will like literally roll them and then they'll eat them like a corn dog. So it gets rid of some of that mucus. But these animals or these creatures, they actually help the giant redwood trees. Because what happens is they've actually discovered that they'll eat everything. The only thing they won't eat is they won't touch the coastal redwood seeds, the saplings. They avoid that because they need these things to grow tall, because that's what provides the environment where these things can thrive. And so they need each other. So it's kind of like the banana slugs eat everything and make the fertilizer that helps support the giant redwoods. Meanwhile, the slugs are protecting that environment and making it fertile and protecting the seeds and giving them a place that they can grow so they can become the redwood tree, so the redwood trees can protect and provide the environment that the banana slugs need. So it's a symbiotic relationship, basically. That's kind of what church is supposed to be. It's a symbiotic relationship where you come and hopefully you are benefit and it helps you provide the environment that you need to grow. But it's also a place where you have to give back, and you have to help fertilize the soil to help make the church happen. And you can't have one without the other. They both need each other to survive. And that's kind of what the symbolism, I guess, of church is supposed to be. And that's kind of why we all have to serve. We all have to pitch in. We all need to serve with the kids or with the students or with the coffee team or the welcome team or on the different leadership teams, or, whatever your gift may be. God has wired each of us differently, and we need to use all those gifts and talents, kind of like we talked about last semester in Groves, in order to serve the body. God gives us these abilities, these gifts, time, energy, resources, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of the greater body. And I think if we could become that kind of church where literally everybody who's a partner, who's a part of this church, is both receiving and giving, that's a healthy church. It's when it's one way or the other too far, where there's a few people that are just giving, and everybody else is receiving, or the other way around. It's imbalanced. And so at Rising Church, I hope, as you kind of talk about this a little bit more in your groves, we will become a church, and we will continue being a church where everybody, all hands on deck, everybody's participating. We're all part of this thing, working together so that we can all be fed and we can all grow. So just some words or thoughts from the national parks that will hopefully apply to us today here at Rising Church. So thanks. We'll see you next week.